When I say seminar workshop for who? Can you guys say teachers? Game ba kayo dyan? Seminar workshop for who? I love the energy. All right, so to kick us off for our program, let me first introduce myself. My name is Howie Baconawa. I'm one of the project leads. I emailed you guys if you guys saw my name sa dulo. And I'll also be your host for the proceedings. And as your host, it is also my honor to call onto the stage the Director of Likhaan, UP Institute for Creative Writing, Sir Romulo Baquiran Jr., to deliver our opening remarks.
Magandang umaga sa inyong lahat. Welcome sa UP, mga guro ng panitikan at literatura. Ang ating seminar workshop ay pinangalan sa bagong pambansang alagad ng sining, Gemino Abad. Palakpakan po natin. Palakpakan po natin siya. At pinagtrabaho namin siya kahit national artist na, no? So, sa kanya pinangalan, dapat nakaupo na lang siya, pero hands-on ang ating manunulat at guro din. No? Isa nga itong tribute sa kanya, pero yun nga, naisip naming kumonekta sa mga guro ng panitikan dahil sa ngayon, alam niyo naman na nata-downgrade ang humanities kasama na ang literature. Parang pilit tayong i-marginalize, pero hindi nila nalalaman na napakahalaga ng humanities, ng humanidades, para maintindihan ng mga estudyante natin mismo at ng ating mga estudyante na itong napakakomplikadong buhay ng tao. Kaya tayo nandito para maintindihan ang ating sarili, ang ating daigdig, para din bahagi natin sa ating mga estudyante na alam nating litong-lito sa buhay, ano bang gagawin nila, paano ba intindihin itong napakakomplikadong realidad na tinatawag na buhay. No? Siyempre, nakalubog na tayo doon sa teknolohiya, pero itong workshop na ito ay isang magandang paraan para ma-renew, mapanibago ang ating pananaw, sigla sa isang napakahalagang bahagi ng pagkatao, ang literature, ang panitikan. No? At yun nga, sa buong mundo na disenfranchise itong literature dito sa UP, nakakalungkot din naman kasi noong mga 4 na taon na nakakaraan, nandito pa naman tayo sa building ng Science and Mathematics, ay nagpasya ang karamihan na bawasan na ang literature courses sa UP. Kaya yung mga natitirang 3 o 4 na units para sa literature ay minamaximize ng gusto. Hindi pa rin naman tayo sumusuko. At isang paraan nito, itong workshop na ito, upang ito ay sa labas din ay maibahagi ang mga panibagong bilang mga guro kasi tawag dito, tungkulin natin na hindi tayo titigil doon sa ating horizon na natutuhan noong tayo ay nag-aaral ng pagkaguro. Lagi itong pinalalawak para sa ating estudyante na napakahirap nilang i-encourage na magbasa kasi ang ating kultura ay masyado ng visual. Lagi na lang tayo nakatingin sa ating mga screen. Kahit tayo naman ay hindi nakaiwas doon. Pero kailangan natin bilang mga guro ay bumalik doon sa mas challenging na pagbasa ng teksto. Kaya nga dito ay meron tayong, maswerte tayo dahil maswerte rin kami dito sa UP-ICW dahil magkakaroon ng interface sa inyo na nasa on the ground. Kasi itong mga ating mga manunulat ay nakalubog din sa kanilang sining ng pagsusulat. Pero alam natin na ang pagtuturo, ang pagsusulat sa Pilipinas ay magkaugnay na magkaugnay. Karamihan sa manunulat ay guru din at marami sa mga guro ay nagsusulat din. Ano? So ang ating interface dito ay two-way. Hindi lamang naman kayo ang aming babahagian ng tawag dito kaalaman, kundi kami rin sa inyo bilang mga sundalo ng panitikan ng literature ay tawag dito, magkakaroon din ng osmosis sa amin kung ano ba na nangyayari dito sa larangan ng pagtuturo ng panitikan sa mga kabataan na alam nating napaka-challenging na buhayin ng interes sa pagbabasa. No? Kaya ito ay, sa madaling sabihin, tayo na isang komunidad na mahilig, na obsessed sa literature at kung paano ba ito ituturo. No? Kailangan nating laging mag-renew, mag-recharge, katulad ng mga seminar na ito kung saan tayo ay nag-uusap-usap, nagbabahagihan ng ano na ba ang mga bagong pamamaraan para ano ang mga bagong magagamit na content ng ating pedagohiya. No? So, isa itong, naiba itong workshop na ito dahil nag-overlap ang ating mag-overlap sa susunod na 3 araw ng ating mga husay, ang ating interes, ang ating pananaw dito sa pagiging guro, manunulat. At karamihan sa inyo ay batang-bata, kapag nasa 20, 30s, At itong ating mga speakers naman ay nasa 50s, 60s. Medyo kailangan i-transfer ang bato sa inyo. Siyempre, hindi naman ibig sabihin na ng pagtuturo, pero itong ating mga seniors ay marami ng gustong ibahagi sa inyo at sa susunod na 3 araw ay ganun nga ating gagawin. At yung format ay actually, itong proyektong ito ay nagsimula mga 6 na taon na nakakaraan. 7 o 6 na taon. Tapos hindi siya taon-taon, every other year. Kasama ito sa proyektong Literature for Social Development ng UP. So, yun, bahagi talaga ito. Naisip talaga na ang literature ay kasama sa social development at may konkretong paraan upang mapabuti ang ating lipunan, di ba? Sa pagbabasa ng meron tayong 4 na major form, dati 3 lang poetry, fiction, drama. Pero nadagdag ang creative non-fiction o yung essay na mahalaga rin sa ating mga klase dahil kung meron tayong malikhaing pagsulat. Ano ba susulatin ng mga diary, journals, biography, or essay, natatandaan ko nung last iteration nitong project. Online lang, Pero excited ang mga guro na makapagbahagi ng kanila ring akda, sa disenyo ng ating workshop ngayon, parang hindi kasama yon, pero maaring mapag-usapan yon. Yung inyong mismo ring pag-akda ng mga at tula, lalo na ang personal na sanaysay. Okay, so iyon, at natutuwa ako na kayo ay sumali dito sa workshop na ito dahil ito indikasyon ng inyong dedikasyon, interes, at commitment sa inyong pedagohiya at bokasyon bilang mga guro. Kayo ay sa literatura dito ay higit na makulay ang paglutas ng hamon sa buhay. Welcome po dito sa ating Gemino Abad workshop.
So maraming salamat, Direk Joey. Seminar workshop for who? I really appreciate you guys' energy. So moving on with the next part of our program to deliver his opening remarks and to tell you more about what we envision for this year's Gemino Abad Seminar Workshop, I'd like to call on our workshop director, Sir Vim Nadera.
Magandang umaga po sa inyo lahat. At pagbati, palakpakan nyo naman yung inyong mga sarili dahil napakarami nag-apply. Meron pa nga mga profesor sa universidad ang tinanggihan namin para kayo ang tanggapin. Hindi nyo na itatanong, nagtrabaho po ako ng 9 na taon sa Philippine High School for the Arts at doon natuklasan ko na wala pang 10% ang kumukuha ng Arts and Design track. Dahil doon, kumbaga, kayo ay mangilan-ngilan na lamang. Kumbaga, rara avis kayo. Kaya pagbutihin natin ang ating larangan. Di ba? Kundi, lalamunin talaga tayo ng science and technology track at kung ano-ano pa na pagkakakita ang kabuhayan. Bakit? Hindi ba natin kayang maging mayaman ang mga batang kukuha ng ating arts and design track? Di ba? Bakit tayo nagigilty sa pagiging productive natin kapag tayo ay nakalikha ng tula, kwento, dula, sanaysay at iba pa? Nga pala, gusto kong kilalanin ang ating tampok sa araw na ito, pambansang alagad ng sining, Dr. Gemino, University Professor, University of the Philippines. Nung pong evaluation namin nung nakaraang taon sa mga nagdaang proyekto ng Likhaan UP Institute of Creative Writing na si Sir Jimmy may pakana. Palakpakan nyo naman. Dati kami, Creative Writing Center lamang nung sinimula ni Amelia La Peña Bonifacio at ni Francisco Arcellana. Pero siya may pakulo nung tawag namin sa kanya si Lord Jim, no? Nung panahon niya na siya ang director, ay yun, in-elevate niya sa institute. Kaya lang, ang kaibahan namin, hindi kami makakapagbigay ng degree. Hindi kasi degree granting ang ICW. Kaya kami ay nagkakasya na lamang sa seminar workshop. Doon sinasabi kong evaluation, di ba meron namang UP National Writers Workshop? Pero ito nga ay para lang sa may libro, may MA, nanalo na sa mga palangkat, iba-iba. Kaya maraming hindi nakasali na doon. Dahil doon, binuksan yung Amelia La Peña Bonifacio Writers Workshop. Doon muna, doon sa mga nagsisimula pa lamang at iba. Pero yun ay nag-evolve din. No? Kaya nga, meron kami tanda ko ako rin ang workshop director ng pagpalihan para sa spoken word na hindi pa nagagawa dati. Ngayon, dito rin sa Gemino, tinignan ko yung pagkukulang. Pero, di ba meron na sa pagsulat, palihan sa pagsulat, meron din sa palihan sa pagtatanghal sa Amelia La Peña Bonifacio, pero wala pa sa pagtuturo at wala din sa pagbasa. Kaya nagganong kami ng gana mag-propose sa Department of Education, pero ang dami pa lang mga pasikot-sikot. At hindi biro ang proseso. No? Kaya naisip namin muna na hindi na kailangan lumayo. Nandito sa UP Institute of Creative Writing, yung pangnakamaghuhusay. So ang kinuha namin muna, siyempre siya, pangunahin si Dr. Gemino sa Poetry in English. Tapos, si Cristina Pantoja Hidalgo sa Creative Nonfiction in English. Tapos, sa Fiction, nandiyan si Charleston Ong. At dapat sana sa theater o sa drama, si Jose Butch Dalisay. Kaya lang siya ay may trip abroad. No? Kaya ito naman si Luna, ang kapatid nating si Luna, Sikat Cleto, ay handang humalili. Nabanggit ko ito kasi nung ginagawa namin yung proposal, magkaiba yung kahingian sa mga teachers ng literature sa English kumpara sa mga guro sa panitikan sa Pilipino. Di po ba? Kaya baka magkaroon ng Virgilio Almario Seminar Workshops for Teachers. Wala ba kayong mga kamay? Proposal ito para matuloy. Kasi Dati, ngayon, GASW, konti lang naman, isang letrang papalitan, VASW. At ito ay mangyayari, sabi nga ni Joey kasi, halinhinan. So, ang susunod naman, merong Bienvenido Lumbera, seminar workshop for translation. No? At kaya pala kayo, napakapala ninyo, kayo ang unang batch muli na face-to-face o on-site. Diba? Kasi yung huli, online lang. So, yun nga lang, di ba pag kailangan yung nagugutom kayo, tatakbo lang kayo sa bahay nyo. Kaya lang, dito, magkakaroon tayo ng salimbayan, no? Pakikipagtalakayan. Kaharap ninyo, in the flesh, nandyan lang, hindi pa kayo nagpapa-autograph. Anong ginagawa nyo? Sinasayang yung oras nyo. Pero, si Sir Jimmy nga pala, ay tutulungan ng premyadong mga manunulat. Para sa poetry, nandyan si Ramil Digal Gulye. Kung hindi nyo pa siya kilala, siya kapapanalo lamang niya ng first place lang naman sa Carlos Palanca Memorial Awards for Literature. Tapos sa fiction, so ito yung naglalakad na yun para nagpapansin no? Si Sid Malbar, so, meron na siyang 2 nobela at mas kilala siya bilang miyembro ng The Batutes. O nalilito ako So performance poet din siya at nagbabalagtasan. Para sa creative non-fiction, tutulungan si Ma'am Jing ni Professor Larissa May Suarez. Nandito ba siya? Na isang premyadong manunulat din at guro sa Department of English and Comparative Literature. At bilang panghuli, si Dr. Luna Sikat Cleto ay tutulungan naman ni Dr. Joaquim Antonio. Kung hindi nyo alam, ang tatay niya ay si Emilio Mar Antonio Jr. Ibig sabihin, apo siya ni Emilio Mar Antonio, ang huling hari ng balagtasan na tatay ni Teo T. Antonio. Sounds familiar? So, ito po, nasa sa inyo na ang pagkakataon, ibinibigay namin kung gusto nyo tamantalahin, meron tayong 3 araw. At sana, pagbutihan yung mabuti, parang redundant, pagbutihan nyo ng maigi dahil kayo ang susi para magkaroon pa ng maraming palihan na tulad na ito. Muli, pagbati sa inyo lahat. Maraming salamat po sa inyong pagtangkilik.
Maraming salamat, Sir Vim. Can we give him another round of applause? Okay, guys, so right now, I'll just be going over some basic announcements. But before that, I'd really like to commend and thank you all for your presence here with us for the next 3 days. We have participants from all over the Philippines. At kaya nga sabi ni Sir Vim, face-to-face din kayo. So thank you for taking the time and effort for being here. Can you give yourselves a round of applause? Okay, so in the staff kit, which we sent you guys, there's a heading over there labeled GASW as a safe space. If you haven't read it yet, I'll go over it now very quickly. The Likhaan UP Institute of Creating Writing maintains its activities as safe spaces against all types of discrimination towards any gender, sex, religion, class, ethnicity, and race. All workshop participants are expected to uphold the principle of non-discrimination and acceptable standards of ethical conduct throughout the duration of the workshop. In case, Lord forbid that an incident occurs, we also have a grievance process available. I'll be reading it right now. Participants are encouraged to immediately report any instances of ethical or sexual misconduct within the workshop duration to the workshop director or workshop coordinator. And I would also like to extend that sort of responsibility to our staff. So if you see anyone right now na naka-blue, this shirt, staff, let me see your beautiful faces. You can report any untoward incident to them. While this does not preclude legal options of redress, an investigation will be initiated to decide upon any appropriate action to be taken. Depending on the degree of offense, the offending party may incur a formal reprimand to outright dismissal from the workshop. So, klaro naman sa'yo guys. Best behavior teachers, you're the model here. And for everyone's information, we're also live streaming this event. So if you have any teachers who wanted to make it but couldn't unfortunately make it due to, let's say, scheduling concerns, you can recommend that they watch the live stream on our official Facebook page. That's Likhaan UP Institute of Creative Writing. Okay. So kung wala kayong tanong, may tanong ako para sa'yo. Are you guys hungry? You guys came here from such a long way, all over the Philippines nga kayo. You guys hungry? Because right now, we'll be having our merienda. It's available outside. May tables and chairs din dyan. And once, you're done with it, please be back here for, please be back here at 10 o'clock. So you're welcome to have refreshments outside kung gutom kayo. And we'll be starting with Sir Jimmy's lecture at 10 o'clock. So good morning po ulit, teachers! I'd like to thank you so much once again for taking the time to come out on a school day of all days. Sana nabawi naman ang oras nyo sa pagkain. Tama ba? May energy pa kayo? When I say seminar workshop for who, you say? I love hearing it. All right, on a more serious note, I'd like to use this opportunity to share a personal anecdote. An anecdote that will hopefully remind you of your charge and significance of your job as a teacher. So I was a student back in my high school library, my old high school library. And sa Filipiniana section, I picked up a book, an anthology of Filipino poetry in English. One of the poems there really moved me so much that I decided to take it down on yellow pad. And I have it with me to this day. After 10 plus years, it is still with me. The name of that poem was Song of the Mandarin by Augusta de Almeida. It was found in a collection, an anthology entitled A Habit of Shores. The editor of that anthology is our speaker for poetry. So ladies and gentlemen and people of all identifications, it is my highest pleasure to introduce to you the person who introduced me to the wonderful world of Filipino literature and English, national artist for literature, Sir Gemino Abad.
Let me introduce myself to you very briefly. You already know my name. You can call me Jimmy. Yeah. I am 84 years old. That's how young I am. And I speak Cebuano, and of course Tagalog, and English. I think of English as a Philippine language also. Yeah? Because all languages intermarry. You know that? Language is our human invention. Yeah. Anyway, so I wish to share with you a possible perspective or standpoint for a discussion of literature. And by literature, we understand the literary work or creative writing, of which there are four in general, four genres or kinds of literary work. And you know that poetry, fiction, like short story or novel, tales, legends, parables, So you have poetry, fiction, drama or play, and then there is an essay also called creative nonfiction. So four kinds or genres. Okay. So what I want to do is to give a kind of perspective or standpoint for a discussion of the literary work. Before I proceed, I will tell you that how many languages do we have in the Philippines? I don't remember the exact number, but I think we have something like 80 or more languages, native languages, including Spanish and English. We have adopted it because of our education. Di ba? Is that correct? We learn English from elementary to high school to college, Di ba? Yeah. You're all teachers, Di ba? in high school, we already teach English, no? I think elementary school we also teach English, no? So English has become also a Philippine language. But you know what? Language is, you might call, a repository of a people's culture or way of living and thinking. That's what language is. No? And so language is very important for any country. And I will add to that, what is also of supreme importance for any country is education. Education. Now, for any country depends on the system of education that they have. The better that education system, the better for the country. And now you ask a very a question. You ask a question yourself: how many Filipinos can go to school? Elementary, high school, college. How many Filipinos can go through all of that? Elementary, high school, college. A country is only as good as its education system. And then you ask yourself, how many of us Filipinos can go to college? All the way, elementary, high school. Yeah. That's why the teacher is so important in our country. Yeah. How many people from the president, vice president down in our government go to college? Diba? Yeah. You mean our vice president and vice president have gone to college? Let's assume they have. Why are they like that? You know, education also means, you know what education does? Education shapes our consciousness. What is meant by our consciousness? What is meant by our consciousness is our mind, thinking, and our heart, feeling. That is what is meant by consciousness. You look up the word consciousness in the dictionary, Webster English Dictionary, and you will find out that it comes from the Latin word scire, meaning to say to know, knowledge, to know. So that's our consciousness. Mind, thought, and heart, feeling. That is our consciousness. And consciousness is the same word as conscience. Consciousness, conscience, come from the same word, Latin, scire, to know. How many in government, serving in government, have conscience? That's our problem today. Yeah. That's why we have corruption, no conscience. Conscience, di ba ang conscience? You have a consciousness of what is true, what is real, what is just, what is right. That's conscience. That's consciousness. Okay? No. That's just my introduction to my talk. And this is my talk. I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, you have an abstract of my lecture. Huh? Okay? So, this is a poetics by the word. You have an abstract of that? Do you have an abstract of that? Because that is my lecture. What is the answer? You have or you don't have? You have an abstract? Open forum. it, yeah, we can spend the whole afternoon, hindi naman, the whole morning. No? Are there other speakers in the morning? None. What time is it? Oh, aha. We can spend the entire morning for open forum now. You want to do that? Because you have the abstract, eh? Huh? I don't have to repeat the abstract, no? Are you willing? Or you still want me to read the abstract? Huh? Okay. Yeah. What am I doing? In our beginning is the Word, meaning to say verbal language, which is our own human invention. When you are born, your language is a given already. It had already been invented. Nah? And that language, whatever language, is a sacred gift because from the day one is born, one is shaped by his language. Your language is your way of living, your culture, your way of thinking. And so through all our human reality, through all our life, the word, your language, whatever that language is, including English, the language is our way, our truth, our life. Without the word, without verbal language, our human invention, without language, we would have no memory, no history, no culture, no civilization. That's why I say our future is shaped by our words. So what is reality? What we call our world, our reality is evermore only our human reality, our experience of living, either objective, factual, or subjective, personal experience. Only our sense of what is there, only our consciousness of what is real, what is true, what is right, what is just. We have no ready access to the consciousness of the other person than our own consciousness. Huh? Correct? Huh? Each one of you. You have no access to my consciousness. No? It's only when we converse, that we have access to what you are thinking, what you are feeling. If we don't speak, we have no language, no conversation, no understanding of each other. Do animals have their own consciousness? I should think so. A cat has its own consciousness of its reality, its environment, its world. When ants meet, Have you ever observed ants? The ants will move like that, and then for a while and then they will move. No? What are they doing? No? Are they sharing food? Or are they conversing? Or are they kissing? We don't know. They have their own consciousness of the reality. No? Okay. We can only imagine a cat's world or reality we can only imagine it, but that is fantasy. Yeah, we can only imagine it. Yeah. Oh, I think when they're sharing gossip, they're gossiping. Okay. Our own individual consciousness is also called our psyche. Yeah. You look up the word psyche in Webster's dictionary. You know, kaibigan, English is already a Philippine language. No? So, from time to time, make it a habit to look up the etymology of the word. No? If you look up the word human, it comes from Latin humus. And you know what it means? Earth, soil. In other words, the human being is earth, soil. And that's where it came from. Yeah. Anyway, and you look up the word consciousness, it's the same thing as conscience, to know. Yeah. Shiri, to know. Okay. So, our world, our reality is not so much valley of tears. Di ba, in our prayer, I think it's a prayer to Hail Mary, full of grace, or something like this. It's in our prayer that our world is valley of tears. No, our world is not so much valley of tears, but as the poet John Keats says, our world, our reality is the veil of soul making. You know, if you think about that, our world, our human reality is the veil of soul making. You know what that means? You make your own soul. Wow, really? I thought when I was born I already have a soul. Yes, you already have a soul, but you will continue to shape that soul as you grow. That's why it's important to reflect, to meditate. And you know what is the most difficult knowledge of all? The most difficult knowledge of all is knowing yourself. You are a different person from your boyhood, then youngster, and then adult, and then as you grow older, you are soul making. You make your own soul. Yeah. Okay. So, reality is one whole. Universe. There. Etymology. Universe. From Latin unum, one, vertere, to turn, turning, changing, becoming. So reality is one whole. You know, this is what our science tells us. In science, our own science, our own science. Remember science, Shiri, to know. Our own science, our own science says, in our own science, we have a so-called chaos theory. That's in science, Science is differentiated from humanities. No? Science. In our science, we have chaos theory. And in chaos theory, reality, capital R, is one whole. And it is evolving. It is evolving, changing all the time. Okay. So all things evolve, including us. We evolve. So reality is mystery. And you look up the word mystery, it means without alphabet. Well, you don't know it. It's a mystery. Yeah, without alphabet. Middle English mystery is from Latin mystes, initiate. So the day one is born, one is initiated into mystery, into reality, capital R, reality. You never cease to wonder and inquire, to evaluate, to judge, to believe. Where there are no questions, the quest or search ends. Question. The quest is search. Another word for search. See? Language is so important to us, no? Now, what does writing require? What does writing require? It requires sense for language. The sense for language is the basic poetic sense. What do you mean by poetic there? You look up the word poetic, poiesis, poiein. You know what it means? To try. Try. No, yeah, poiesis. Yeah. So we all try. We all try to understand. Something or other. No? It's all quest. No? It's all search. We never cease searching. No? We never cease inquiring. No. And you know what is so important? Imagination. Who discovered the airplane? I don't know. I actually don't know. No? I think American. No? I think, I could be wrong. No? But you know what? Without imagination, you will have no discovery. Who invented the computer? There was no computer before. Who invented it? Somebody who had a vigorous imagination. If you're an architect, you had better have a good imagination because you create buildings, mga skyscrapers. You make drawing. This is the house that I will build for you. Or that's imagination. No? To think well is to imagine well. To think well is to imagine well. You know what, kaibigan? The sense for language is the basic poetic sense. And that sense for language becomes more and more vigorous for somebody if he is curious about his language. Where does this word come from? Words come from each other. They borrow from each other. Like in Tagalog, what is the Tagalog word for computer? Computer then. You didn't have to invent the word. Diba? Oh. Okay. Wow. I'm already done with half of the excerpt. Yeah. Anyway, what is language? Oh, it's so, the word language is from Old French lang, which is the word, the French word for tongue. So, when you use language and you know that it comes from the word tongue in French, that means it is as though when you use language, when you speak or when you write, it is as though with words and words we would savor our experience, our living of life. Isn't that a wonderful meaning for language? Lang. Because it means something when you know your language, whether it is English or Tagalog or Cebuano. When you speak, when you write, it is as though with words and words we would savor our experience. And by experience, all you mean is the living of life. That's all it means, the living of life. Did you get another, did you get this? Yeah. Did you get as part of your reading, poem reader interpretation? Do you have that? You have that? Yeah, okay. So, that is a discussion of poetry, especially reading, when you read, and especially interpretation. When you read, you already interpret. So a poem can mean A for you, but it can mean B for another. But remember this, to think well is to imagine well. So when you interpret, you have to think, right? But to think well is to imagine well. So when you read, when you read a short story, you're not just reading words, you're imagining what's going on. Diba? So when you read a poem, you also have to imagine what's there. No? Supposing I read you a poem, what's your interpretation? Oh, western wind, when wilt thou blow, that the small rain down can rain? Christ, if my love were in my arms, and I in my bed again. That, I'm curious, your interpretation. So, I think it is anonymous. Anonymous poem. But it is American, somebody there in the United States. No, in the United States, they have different seasons. You have winter, spring, summer, no? Ganun sila. Tayo, ano bang Ano bang climate natin? I don't know. Well, summer, palagi din summer, basta sometimes rain. Maraming rain. And then sometimes maraming rain. Konti lang ang rain. Ibang seasons natin, ha? Di ba? Okay. So, this one is an American poem, no? Written by an anonymous. No? Yung western wind, it brings rain. No? That means, tapos na ang winter, mag-spring na. Okay. When it is winter in America, sometimes it is difficult to travel from one state to another. Yeah? Kasi snow, ice, sometimes if it is very far away from New York to very far in the United States, yung malayo na United States, traveling to that very far city, impossible because of the winter and ganyan. So I can be separated from my sweetheart, when it is winter. So this guy said, oh, western wind, when will it blow so that the rain can come down? And then, parang blasphemy pa. What of American? Christ! Blasphemy. No, not blasphemy. In the American, Christ! Oh, parang ganun lang. Oh, with my love within my arms, and I in my bed again. Sexy mo naman. So, I think you can interpret the poem na, no? Diba? So, what is the experience? You can say, somebody longing for his sweetheart, or his wife, baka wife na, or girlfriend lang. Yeah? Ganun lang. Yeah. What you have to imagine it, if you can interpret. The thing where is the imagination. Tama na yun? Anong oras na? Oh, hanggang anong oras ito? Open forum. You better help me because it's hard to
Can we all give an extra loud round of applause to Sir Gemino Abad? So tama nga, no? The importance of your vocation as teachers lies within your ability to foster imagination. That eventually bleeds out and shapes reality itself. And as teachers of literature, you have the power to shape the future through words. So teachers, I will be asking for your words, and I'd like to open the floor for any questions. Oh, please proceed to our mic kapag may tanong kayo. Go lang. Please introduce yourself din po.
Okay, good morning. I'm Gerald, and I'm from Bicol. Yeah, so good morning to all of you. Good morning, sir. Okay, so I'm really intrigued by your discussion with regards to language really shapes our realities, our truths, right, sir? And then recently, we had some social issues with regards to people accusing some organization as labeling them as cult, and I was really curious in terms of how do you think these kinds of organizations really encourage other people to believe in what they say, that and encourage them to leave their barangays and then go up to the mountains and live there. Imagine teachers also, professionals are being, I don't know the term for them, they say budol, no, nabubudol, because of the narratives, the stories that they are telling. So how do you think these kinds of social dynamics in terms of how language the reality or forms the realities of these individuals really negatively affects our society? How can we also probably try to negate these kinds of languages being used to deceive other people? You know, I mean, is this high time for us to also probably look into this one on how we truly empower other people to have certain skills in terms of not being deceived by the kind of language being given to them by other people, probably more influential individuals. Thank you.
I know. All we have is language. Yeah. You cannot imagine a community without a language. Yeah? Impossible. They will have their own language. Yeah? Okay. When you speak or when you write, where are you drawing? Where are you drawing from? You are drawing from your own consciousness. Diba? When you write, you're writing a love letter, or whatever it is you're writing. You're writing a short story. You're drawing from yourself. Where are you drawing from? Your own consciousness. Yeah? That means also conscience. Yeah. Our consciousness. Yeah, I already said it, kaibigan. Yeah? I like that word, kaibigan. Yeah? By the way, if I meet you in the street and you have just given me your name, way back, and then you greet me, oh, Jimmy, how are you? And I answer you, oh, okay lang, kaibigan. I forgot your name. Yeah. Anyway, when you speak, although when you speak, the word that comes to mind is what you use, diba? Yeah. But when you write, you think also. Yeah. You want to write something not really great, but yeah. Okay, you're more careful with words when you write. Yeah, yeah. Okay. So, since you draw from yourself your own consciousness, that's why all of you, you're so important for our country. I will say, for you to immigrate forever to America is a crime, as far as I'm concerned. You don't love your country. You don't love your country no more. That's bad English. You don't love your country no more. Yeah. Okay. That's why it's so important. Our country is only as good as its education system. You know, my other one other way of putting it, a country, any country, is only as good as her people's memory. If you have no memory of martial law during the horrible Ferdinand Marcos as president case. No. You think the second Marcos is okay? No, no sir. In social weather station, and yun, yeah, you know social weather station, you know? Their acceptance by the Filipino people as president, as vice president, is going down. Kaya, yeah, no? I hope I don't get arrested. Yeah, okay. People is all, a country is only as good as her people's memory. And that memory is most alive in the people's literature. Our people's literature. In our languages. In our languages. Whether it is Tagalog or English. That memory, a people's memory, is most alive in the country's literature. From the time the country historically became a country, the Philippines. When did the Philippines become a country? I have a book for you to buy or to read. Now, 2 volumes. I will give you tomorrow a final examination on 2 volumes. So buy that picture. No, but anyway, the roots of the Filipino nation, 2 volumes, by O.D. Corpus. And you will know. You will know. In the beginning, we were all barangays in different parts of the archipelago. Mga barangay lang. And each barangay had its own head. Yeah? But they respected each other. They did not invade the other. Like China invading us. Huh? No. They respected each other. And then the Spaniards came. Ayun, the Spaniards came. But somehow, even if they were abusive, including the friars, no? Somehow, we were somehow united as an archipelago. Although we were ruled by the Spaniards. Yeah? And then the Americans came. So we were Americanized also. And then, but America, being democratic, allowed us to become our own country. This is us. The roots of the Filipino nation. Don't miss that book. Sometime. So, where was I? And what was the question? I forgot. Yeah. So, you have, find out, we have to have mastery of the language of our country. What is that language? Una, Filipino. Tagalog-based Filipino. Every language, actually anything, evolves, changes. Yeah? There was no computer before, so there was no such word as computer. Right? Yeah. All languages evolve. And all languages intermarry. They marry from each other. Yeah. Okay. That's why you have English, English is full of words from Latin and from Greek. In the original. Yeah, yeah. Then you took your education seriously. Yeah, your conscience. Education. The boom marker. Then you have any school. Then you graduate, kuno siya,
Sir Jimmy, we have another question from one of our participants. They wrote it down for us. We have another question from one of our participants. They wrote it down for us. We have another question from one of our participants. They wrote it down, and I'll read it right now. Someone's going to ask a question, and I'll ask it for them on their behalf.
Somebody will ask the question.
Somebody asked the question, and I will speak for them.
Okay.
They're feeling a little shy. So the question goes from one of our participants that they've noticed that a majority of senior high school students have lost their habit of thinking imaginatively, especially now during the age of computers and social media. So they're asking, as a teacher, what techniques can you share in order to encourage and really captivate their imaginations and encourage them to think imaginatively again?
Written more, written.
What tips can you share as a teacher to captivate your students' imagination?
Oh, wow. As a teacher.
Yes.
No. How to okay.
Yes. Share some tips.
Oh, kaibigan, as a teacher, first thing that you will try your best, try your best, is to make them love, not you, love language, because that's all we have, no? You play around with them, with language. You have, what do you think? You think literature, that's language already. Literature is creation. You create the story. You wrote a place using language. What do you mean by when you write a poem, when you write a short story, the first requirement for a short story writer, for a poet, for a playwright, for the essay, creative non-fiction, the first requirement for the writer is imagination. So, in other words, you're writing a short story about a family. What sort of father do you have in that story? What sort of mother? And maybe one child. You have to imagine. You have to imagine the I have to imagine the consciousness of the father, the consciousness of the mother, the consciousness of the children, the consciousness of the youth, and the quality characterization, the characters in your story. You have to imagine that before you can actually write that story or that novel for the point. The point is not the layer. Very short very short point. The speaker, all you have to do is imagine where the one is speaking in the point. There's only one person. Imagine what is consciousness, what is consciousness is. Conscious, what is real, what is true, what is right, what is black. It's conscious. You imagine that. You didn't have before. The person, the father said to a son, very short time, is a crack. You know what I mean, like the crack. And he's the speaker in that voice. Not to imagine, how does that crack up the head when you talk? And that's the thought.
The floor is still open for more questions if you would like to ask. Of course.
Hello po, good morning, sir. My name is Mr. Brandy Pareñas from Imus, Cavite. Naku, kinakabahan po ako. Sorry po. Kinakabahan po ako pag nasa harap po ako ng national artist. Sorry po. Sorry po.
People can say that.
Opo, sorry po, sir. My question is actually related to the first question. You emphasized earlier that language shapes our consciousness, and if it shapes our consciousness, then therefore it forms the truth, the reality, and the future, sir. However, I would like to argue that if language can shape the future, the truth, the reality, then therefore it can also destroy truth, reality, and also alter the truth and reality in our future. So my question is, what is your opinion about those people, especially professionals and even teachers, influencers, who make use of language in altering the truth and destroying the consciousness of our nation, as in the form consciousness of our nation? What is your opinion about them? Thank you, sir.
The short answer, the short answer to that is all our words, no matter what the language is, all our words speak truth. The poet Gertrude Stein says, a rose is a rose is a rose. A rose is not a gumamela, it's not a carabao. A rose is a rose is a rose. All our words speak truth. Only the liar speaks untrue. In other words, the liar abuses. Look up the word abuse in the English dictionary. Corrupts. The liar abuses, corrupts the language to deceive other people as well as himself. Okay? The man of honor is the man or woman of her word. That is the true man and the true woman. A man of his word. I am a man of my word. Because we are our word. You have nothing else. If you are a man of your word, you are an honorable man. You don't lie. The liar corrupts the language, abuses language. And then I will add to that. The word speaks truth. we invented the word. No? So, if the word speaks true, then the user of the word is also a man or woman of his word. In other words, he's an honorable man. The liar is not. It's almost as though the liar contradicts his humanity. Because we are our words. And all our words is. That's why the teacher how sacred the word is.
We encourage our participants to ask more questions.
That we are shaped by language. Because language is the only way you can understand anything. Diba? Language from your childhood is the only way you can understand anything in your reality. Your Cebuano language or the English language. It's the only way. It's the only way you will know anything. No? And it's the only way you can judge for yourself. You can judge for yourself whether this person is saying, is abusing language or is an honorable person. Okay? If you're just joking, then okay. Yeah? Joking is something else. Yeah? You also use language. Okay.
If there are any further questions, please just proceed to the mic.
Good morning po. Kinakabahan din ako. My name is Christian Vim Nadera. I'm a public school teacher in Antipolo. And we met in MIBF last time po, sir. First, I would like to appreciate you, sir, for awakening. I believe everyone can relate to this. You awakened so much in us today. Salamat po, sir. And I would like to appreciate also that you have compiled masterpieces that serve as our references in college up to now. That those are the pieces that we use in our classes. Now, my question po, sir, pwede dalawa. Number one is, sa dami na po ng mga na-compile nyo, sir, what is your advice to us? How do we select pieces that we bring in our classroom? That's first question. The second po is, since as parents, some of us are parents here, how did you foster love for literature in your family, especially to your children? Because I know po may literature teacher and writer din po sa inyong anak. So how did you foster love for literature for them? Salamat po. Pangit sulat ko. How do you select pieces po? How do we select pieces to bring in our classroom, that we bring in our classroom? The other one is, how did you foster love for literature in your family, especially to your children?
How do I select poems, stories, for my class? Yeah, okay. When I choose poems for discussion in the class, or short stories, or novels, or plays, I have to be sure that I like it, no? You like it, no? You like it. But since you like it, you understand it perfectly well. That's what you choose. You not choose something na, hindi ko maintindihan ito. Okay, yeah, okay. That's what you do. how, how did, how did I teach literature in my family? I did that. uh, well, in the family, it was taken for granted. Uh, that's why when the children's book, you know, that's what you do as a parent. You know, still young, you make them fall in love with comics muna for children. And you help them read. Picture books yata ang tawag. My daughter, Sian Abad, writes picture books. It's a story with pictures illustrated. So she works with somebody who will make the drawing. For children, books for children. You're all parents, I suppose, unless you are married or divorced. No, that's what you do with your children. They can read even before they go to school. That's what we do.
Go right on ahead.
Sir, good morning po.
Vincent,
Vincent from Naga po. I would like to ask two questions, sir. Firstly po, you mentioned earlier that by communicating, we get to access the consciousness of one another. And also, you also made mention of language helping us to shape truths and realities. In the case of teaching poetry, where it is generally characterized as using figurative language, how does it facilitate the understanding of truth and realities? Because we have these figurative, different styles of using figurative language. So how does it, especially as teachers, how do we, does this facilitate looking at one thing and seeing the same picture? And on a related note po, as a teacher, with in teaching poetry, how do I qualify if an interpretation is valid, is correct? Do I get to censor any interpretation that might perhaps not be popular to the majority? Would I say that, is it safe to say that all interpretations are okay, are valid? So, those two questions, sir. Thank you po.
the first one was what?
How does teaching poetry facilitate understanding realities when it's using figurative language? When it uses figurative language. And the second one, how do I, as a teacher, validate or even censor probably an interpretation of a poem?
Okay. Wow. Those are very good questions. Yeah. Okay. The first one. The word, all words, all words speak truth. Okay. If so, then the human being is truth seeking. Every human being seeks the truth. You know, no? No? Okay. The all words speak truth. Only the liar abuses it, corrupts it. But all words speak truth. I will add to that. All words speak truth. A banana is a banana. Is a an elephant is an elephant is an elephant. But other, on top of that, all words is true. The human being who invented language, word, is a truth seeker. The human being is a truth seeker. You never cease to inquire, to wonder about something. You always, what does that mean? You never cease to inquire, because you never cease to wonder. For example, I wonder, why is it now we have an electric car? Who invented the electric? Run on electricity, hindi na gasoline, which is a good thing, no? Because pollution, our traffic, terrible traffic, pollution, garbage everywhere, traffic, pollution. It has to do with climate change. And climate change is a worldwide problem. Enough said. No. What was the other one? What was the other one? Yeah, interpretation. Yeah. A poem, a short story, a play can have different interpretations which may be valid. But some may not be valid. How do you know if it's valid or invalid? Right? Read the stuff. So in other words, you have a poem, and then I am the teacher, and then you have then somebody says, Jimmy, you can call me Jimmy. I have another interpretation. So that will be nice. That will be a nice discussion in class. If right, what is the interpretation that explain? Because of this metaphor. Okay? Because father said this. You have some ground to stand on. That can be good discussion in class. It can be valid. Okay? Yeah. We respect each other's consciousness of what is real, good, what is right, what is we respect each other's you have to make your own judgment. You have to make your own judgment. As a teacher, you have your own interpretation. So, you let your student know about it. You try and explain why you interpreted it that way. And then you leave it at that. Yeah? You leave it at that. In other words, it's up to them to consider your interpretation. And you don't file. File. Yeah. You always try and anyway, it's not the only thing that they will be required to answer correctly. It's not the only. It's not as though blank na siya. No. You have other consideration for the student. Always be frank.
Do we have more questions? Maybe from teachers in the back? You can, there you go. Perfect.
Hello po, I'm Grace po. And I just graduated from Philippine Normal University po 2 months ago. So, medyo fresh po po. Before I ask the question po, can I address your question po, yung first question about cults po? Because I've been watching this Netflix series, How to Start a Cult. How to Start a Cult. And you asked kanina, how can someone use language to start like a cult and influence others so much na talagang naniniwala sila. There's this cult leader, his name's Jim Jones. I think it was Jim Jones. And what he did was, trinay niya na aralin yung language ng masa. So, he goes from one place to another, tapos he would learn their language, like what is the language of the people, the mass in that place. And that's really amazing na he was able to do that. Tapos hinikayat niya, he learned how he can turn the people around. Ganon, like what scares them. And what really scares us is, the end of things. And that's where he played it. Ano yung nakakatakot for them? For example, sa isang place, natatakot sila na magkasakit, ganon. So he learned that, and then he turned that fear into his power. So that's really good. Panoorin niyo po, maganda po yun. And yung question ko po is that one of the things that made my college difficult po was writing literary critic po. My question po is, how do I avoid overreading a text po? Kasi most of the time, my professors would say, you're overreading this, and it's difficult po kasi to reason out na it's my own interpretation, and it's something that's really baffled me every time.
I think you will have to do your own judge. Diba? In other words, you yourself will judge for yourself whether you're over-reading or under-reading. Kulang yata yung interpretation ko. In other words, my own understanding of this short story or this poem, my own understanding as a teacher, I question myself. Okay na ba yun? No? You have to judge yourself also. You have to judge yourself. You know what that is, kaibigan? Yeah. You are being honest also to yourself. Yeah. I really did not understand this. Yeah. Maybe half understand that. You have to be honest to yourself. Yeah. If you think that, if you are doubtful about your interpretation, don't teach it. Yeah, yeah, you have to be honest with yourself. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Wow.
Hello po. Hi, I'm Frank. So I guess just to also add to the discussion, um, especially when it comes to interpretation, siguro helpful tip for us teachers is textual evidence, finding evidence within a text to help support what a student says. That could possibly help. Siguro, aside from that, I also it's very interesting as well to add to the discussion on cult leaders and interpretation. How can we? It's all going there. But pero yun, it's how can we use language and literature to inspire connection and to inspire love and greater outwardliness and sharing in a community. I think we need to contextualize it maybe with that. If it makes people feel lonely or isolated, maybe that's something that we can think about and process our students, because if we if an interpretation makes other people excluded from the conversation, maybe that's where we can put maybe caution to that. So it's hopefully about inclusion. But anyway, my question is, as teachers, I believe it's our job to help our students love language and love reading. So how can we, and a good way to do that is to make it personal. So how can we make it more, how can we effectively make a piece help a poem speak to our students on a personal note?
Teka, don't go muna. You teach literature, huh? Poem, short story, play. Okay. Therefore, they will have, all of them will read the poem, will read the short story, and will have their own understanding of it. No? Like, tomorrow our short story is this. Okay? You read that. Because in the beginning of the class, you will answer the question, interpret this poem. What do you understand? What do you understand from this poem? No? What is this poem telling us? Yun ang assignment nila. No? So when they go to class the following day, they submit their interpretation. Then you will take them. No? You will discuss the interpretation of each one. Malaking trabaho yun, ano? Yeah, but anyway, you just you randomly select one, and then you discuss it in class. No? Kanya-kanyang interpretation. Then you will have your own. No? So, I think when you discuss it that way, no, you give a poem to them to read, no? When they come to class, you ask them, what is your interpretation? What is this poem telling us? No. So each one will have his own answer. Right? So everyone, and then you yourself will have to have an answer. No? And you will explain also your answer. Right? If you do that with every assignment, That's a tough job, I know. It's not easy. Yeah? But it's the only way you can encourage a way of interpreting as best as one can. It's all that one can do, as best as one can. Especially if it is English, even if English has already become our language, but this is high school. No? Baka kung sa college, mas mahusay sila sa English. Di ba? Oo. So, you help it, actually, and teaching, you help each other. Oh. You are with the student helping. Oh. Okay. That's teaching. Teaching is not easy. You know that. Oh. You want them to understand what the story is all about. No? The way you understood it. We hope that the way I hope that the way I understand it is correct as a teacher. No? Which means that you can also, by listening to your students, you might also, tama ka. And you never thought of it. You can be surprised. Diba? I think the teacher can also be surprised. Mas tama yun. Yeah, we have to be humble also. My interpretation is the correct one. No, that's not a good attitude. Yeah, yeah. You help each other. Yeah, the teacher helps the student, and the teacher sometimes also learns from the student, especially mga bright ones. Di ba, you're bright students? Oo, you can also learn from them. Yeah? The teacher is a humble person. Di ba? Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
I believe. So thank you for your question, Frank. I believe we have another question here from Karen.
Okay. Meron pa.
Hello sir, I'm Karen po from Benguet State University. Apo. Ang question ko po for you as a poet, sir. So, as a poet po, were there instances where your works or your poems were misinterpreted? Or parang malayo po dun sa intended meaning ninyo yung pagkaka-interpret nila? Yun po. And how do you feel about this kung nangyari na po?
I see. No, I don't have that experience. Yeah. About my work.
Yes po, yes po.
Yeah. Well, I have not read all. I have not read everything that other people interpretation of a poem or a short story. I also write short stories, but not too many, or an essay. Yeah. I've not encountered any.
Oh, okay.
So it's not in my experience.
Okay. Sige.
Maybe because I'm old, so they respect old people.
Okay. Okay, thank you po. Isang question na lang po. So, I think many of us would agree na poetry yung pinakamahirap na genre na ituro. 'Di ba? Yes po. Yun po yung pinakamahirap iturong genre talaga. So siguro sir, since we are all teachers here, as a poet and as a teacher, could you give us some tips on how to teach poetry para po hindi siya ganun kahirap para sa teacher at para sa estudyante?
Wow. Well, you have to imagine well what you read.
Imagination.
Imagine well what you read. Can you give me a point? Do you have an example? No. Give me a point.
Ito yung nabuksan ko.
Sige.
Ghosts.
Yung maikli lang.
Ay, maikli lang. Sige po.
Parang yung short lang, parang Madali.
Ito po. To speak then of poetry.
Okay.
Mahaba po. Ay, oo nga, first. Yes po.
Yung poem, to speak, let's take this, kasi mas short.
Sige po, yes po.
Walang mas mga. Ito. Ayan, ito.
Okay.
Yung title ng poem, if you have the book, will know words break. If you have the book, it's on page 29. Okay, the poem goes this way. The title is Eavesdropper. Naintindihan natin, eavesdropper, ano? Eavesdropper. What is an eavesdropper, kaibigan? Eavesdropper.
Marites.
Opo, yun po yung term ngayon sa chismoso.
Layman's term.
Nakikinig ka gano'n? So, mahilig sa gossip. Eavesdropper. Life and poetry have at last found each other out. One could, from their voices, imagine a lover's quarrel. I do not think they are aware I watch and overhear. Eavesdropper talaga. Says one. Remember that the speaker is, one speaker is life, and the other speaker is poetry. And there is an eavesdropper. Personalized, ano? Yung life at saka yung poetry. Says one. Sino? Yung life or yung poetry? Says one. Give me reason. Mine. Do as you will, says the other. Give me right. Heart. Do as you please. I am sure neither will lose, perhaps only myself. But I must pass on. I have nothing to offer. Pardon, life, for you are lovely. Forgive, poetry, for you are life. Yet, what to offer is given beforehand. Oh, how I deceive myself. I cannot pass. If there be nothing yet, I am the better beggar for you. I wait as the villain waits for the hero's triumph. Oh, let the world then make life and poetry one. Else, dauntless, I haunt his sleep till he strike. End of the poem. Eavesdropper. Who is the eavesdropper? Who is the eavesdropper? Ikaw mismo. The author of the poem. I do not think they are aware I watch and overhear. It's the I who is an eavesdropper. And he is dropping on life, talking, and poetry, talking also. Life and poetry have at last found each other out. One, anybody could, from their voices, the voices of life, and the voices of poetry, one could, from their voices, imagine a lover's quarrel. Love and poetry, quarreling. And I, the speaker of the poem, is listening to them. Na? You have to imagine it. Yeah? So that says one. Who is saying that? Give me reason. Mine, do as you will. Says one. Who is that one? Says the other. Give me right. R-I-T-E. Right. Ceremony. No? Heart, do as you please. But ito na yung I ng speaker of the poem. I am neither one or the other. I am sure neither will lose. Life and poetry will still emerge victor. None will lose. Perhaps only I will lose. Can you already follow the point? Huh? Yes.
Kasi from the author himself, di ba? From the author himself.
Who is this? Give me reason. Mine, do as you will. That must be. That's mine.
The reason.
The other one, give me right. Ceremony. Heart, do as you please. Heart. Mind and heart. That's you. You yourself, mind and heart, will answer the question. Because you are eavesdropping. You are eavesdropping on your mind, what your mind is thinking, and what your heart is feeling. Okay? That's one. You alone, you are both mind and heart. So, I am sure neither mind nor heart will lose, only yourself. Yeah? Okay?
Right. We have time for at least one or two more questions. Over there. And meron pa?
I said this already. The most difficult knowledge is self-knowledge. You have to enter your consciousness, your mind and your heart. How do you enter your mind and your heart? Reflect, meditate, listen to yourself. That's why talking to yourself may be a good idea. Nobody is around, so I can talk to myself. Who are you? What have you become? What's your problem, man? What's your problem? Why are you sad today? Okay.
Right? Go ahead. Siguro like one or two more questions, sir. One or two more questions more. One or two questions more.
Sure.
Hi, sir. It's an honor to meet you. I have to say that. I'm also intrigued by the thought of consciousness as something that's unique to an individual. I'm still not over it. You have told us a while back in your lecture that we don't have access to one's consciousness unless we get to converse with one another. I usually don't understand people, especially those who advocate for 20 pesos na bigas and gold bars, until now that you have discussed to us that consciousness is unique to an individual. It's like the algorithm of their thinking is shaped by the social media that they follow, for example. Now, in connection to poetry, there surely will be varying interpretations to a poem. Now, I want to know what is the demarcation line between respecting these differences, these interpretations, and enforcing or emphasizing the truth or the true essence of the poem. So yes, we respect their interpretations, we respect that they come from varying cultural backgrounds, their preferences, or they're familiar bringing, but how do we enforce or how do we tell them that this is the true essence of the poem?
I will not, I will try my best. I will try my best. Try my best as a teacher to explain. I think, as far as I'm concerned, this is the best interpretation of the poem. That's what I think as a teacher, and I will try my best to explain why I think it's the best interpretation. It's all that I can do, but not to discourage them, not to discourage the student. So try your best also. Kaibigan, I think you are right in saying na this is what it means. I think you are right. Now, you pick also, pick something from their own interpretation and congratulate, sort of congratulate the student. I think you are right. That's what I think, but I think you're right. In other words, we respect each other in team. You try your best. Pick something from their interpretation. Try to do that. Parang they were not so discouraged. Kaming lahat, bobo. No, it's not going to be that way. That's not teacher. Mahirap ang teaching. It's
Alright.
not easy. Boy,
And for the final question for Sir Jimmy.
the country needs you. Yeah. Do not immigrate.
Good morning po. Totoo palang nakakakaba pag nandito na po talaga sa harap nyo. Ako po si Sharma from Occidental Mindoro National High School. And what I'm going to ask is that one of my students, kasi I'm teaching also poetry, creative writing, senior high school na subject. And then I was teaching poetry and then one of my students asked me, Ma'am, do you have examples po that yung mga Filipino writers naman or Filipino poets? So, yeah, one of course is, na-realize ko kanina nung diniscuss yung book, na yes, I'm going to buy your book, yung isang collection doon. But then, I also saw a collection of short stories from past to present. So, can you recommend, sir, a book of poetry, a collection of poetry, Filipino poets?
Again.
Okay, a book or a collection of Filipino poets, poetry, Filipino poetry.
Filipino poetry. Yes, I have. I think 3 volumes. My own, my own collection of poetry in English by Filipinos. It's published by the UP Press.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can select some poems there for your class. From the beginning that we started to write English poetry. Yeah. So I have such a collection, and of course my collection will always have an introduction. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Charm.
Hello, test. I think the books that you're referring to, Sir Jimmy, correct me if I'm wrong, but the books that you're referring to, I think, are A Native Clearing, Man of the Earth, and A Habit of Shores. Those are the 3 names, and I also would like to recommend it. Really good series. UP Press is outside, so maybe they have copies on hand. Baka lang. So thank you once again to our participants, and thank you again, Sir Jimmy, for making this such an intimate affair. On behalf of the Likhaan UP Institute of Creative Writing and our seminar director, Sir Vim Nadera, I would like to present Sir Jimmy Abad, who I will chase in a minute this certificate congratulating him as his role for a speaker. So can we give him another round of applause? Thank you so much. Okay, so we'll be having a quick photo op. Sir Jimmy, can we have you here? Tapos, sama din kayo. Sir Joey, sige. Do you want to join us for the photo? Dito tayo, sir. With all the participants. Oh, no. Oh, to the... So right now we'll be having lunch. It'll run from 11:45 to 1 p.m. Please enjoy and be back here by 1.